Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Popcorn Podcast. My name is Dylan, of course, and I think it's fair to say that 2020 so far has been a bit of a disaster, really. 2019 was such a great year for movies. We had 1917, we had Parasite, we had Avengers Endgame, we had Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, we had The Irishman. So many great films that came out last year. So it was going to be a tough job to even compete with 2019, but looking at what was supposed to be coming out in 2020, I was positive that I was going to have a good time at the movies anyway. So it's a bit disappointing that there's obviously this whole pandemic has come around and we haven't been able to go to the cinema and experience these films. But I am super excited to get out and go back to watching movies the way they are supposed to be watched after this whole lockdown ends and this pandemic is over with. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing the top 10 movies that I am most excited for personally once this whole lockdown is over with. When the cinema chains reopen, these are the films that I'm most excited to go and see. Before I get into the top 10, there are a couple of honorable mentions that I'd like to quickly list off. So up first, we have Greyhound, which is set in World War II and it stars Tom Hanks. Next up, we have a new horror film called Malignant, which is directed by James Wan, who did the first two Insidious films and the first two Conjuring films. Then we have Mulan, which is Disney's latest live-action remake. Ghostbusters Afterlife, starring Paul Rudd, and is also set to make the return of Bill Murray. Next up, we have Morbius, which is starring Jared Leto and is apparently in the MCU. So that is definitely something I'm excited about, seeing it join this shared universe. And finally, we have The New Mutants, which is meant to be coming out this year. Who knows? Because it's been delayed for 2 years now or something like that. And it can never seem to catch a break. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's delayed to next year or whatever. But yeah, The New Mutants, hopefully we get to see it once this lockdown is over. So yeah, let's begin. So guys, coming in at number 10, we have The Eternals. Now, every time new characters are introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I am super excited. We've seen it done great before with Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange. So many incredible new characters have come into this shared universe. And being a hardcore fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, any film they bring out is always going to be one of my most anticipated films of the year. The cast for this film is incredible. We have Angelina Jolie, we have Richard Madden and Kit Harington, who of course played the Stark brothers in Game of Thrones. We have Kumail Nanjiani, who has gone viral for a body transformation that he has done for this role. And yeah, so many great actors and actresses. And even though I'm not the biggest fan of the Eternals from the comics, I don't know too much about them, I'm always excited and interesting to see what Marvel have in store for any new characters they bring into this incredible new universe. So yeah, The Eternals is at number 10. Apparently this film takes place after the events of Avengers Endgame, and it focuses on obviously these ancient beings, ancient superheroes who have been living on Earth, and of course after Endgame they have been forced to come out and obviously reveal themselves. So I'm super excited once again to be introduced into a new realm, a new flavor in the MCU. So The Eternals is at number 10 and I'm super excited for it. Coming in at number 9, guys, we have Fast and Furious 9. Now, does anyone else remember when this series was about street racing and not about saving the world every other day? Because I do. And it actually amazes me how Universal have gone and made 10 films in this franchise. So I thought that the ending of Fast and Furious 7 was actually the perfect way to close off the franchise. Of course, Paul Walker tragically passed away, RIP, and that is where I think that the franchise should have concluded. But of course, Fast and Furious is a money-making machine, so Universal had to go and make more, didn't they? And now we have the 9th installment in this franchise, and this film centers around Dom and the gang basically facing off against John Cena, who plays his brother. And he's essentially the bigger, badder, faster, stronger version of Dom. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I am not going to be watching this movie in the cinemas because they're just too fun. They're too entertaining to miss, even though they are completely ridiculous and absurd. and their action sequences, whilst enjoyable, defy every single law of physics possible. There is a scene in this trailer, in this film, that essentially shows Dom attaching a rope to his car and glides across from one mountain to another. You know, at this point, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they fought the Avengers in the next film. Having said all that, Fast and Furious is a guilty pleasure of mine. I do like the characters. I do like the actors and the chemistry they have between them. I have kind of grown up watching these films as well. I've stuck with the franchise for a lot of years, and I'm always going to be, somewhat excited to see what they have in store in the next movie. So Fast and Furious 9 is going to be at my number 9. So coming in at number 8, guys, we have Top Gun Maverick. This is the second installment in this franchise, and admittedly, I don't think I've seen the first film in its entirety. I've seen bits and pieces when I was younger, but I have to watch the film in its entirety to, fully prepare for this second one. Now, I'm going to say that this sole reason for this film being on my list is Tom Cruise. He's one of my favorite actors, and that is because of the dedication he shows to his craft. We've seen this guy do a halo jump. We've seen him hang off a plane for his dear life. We've seen him scale the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. This guy is crazy. And this film, Top Gun Maverick, I heard that he had to get special permission from the US Navy to perform some of the stunts that he does in this film. I'm pretty positive that when I do finally go and watch this film in the cinema, it will probably be one of the best movie experiences I've ever had, because the lengths to which the filmmakers and the cast and crew are going to get the footage to make this movie is just insane. I'm super excited to see how Tom Cruise uses his pilot skills in this film, not just from a character standpoint, but I know he's teaming up with some of the the best fighter pilots in the world. And I'm not talking about in the film, I'm talking about real life fighter pilots. These guys risk their life on a daily basis to shoot this film. And I've also heard that they've developed technology that allows 6 IMAX cameras to be fitted inside the cockpit of these fighter jets, which is insane because they're focusing not just on the movements of the jets themselves, but also the reaction from the pilots in the cockpits, the G-force element. I'm so excited, and I'm so technically impressed by the lengths to which these guys have gone to deliver this film, and I just can't wait to watch this on the biggest IMAX screen possible with the loudest sound speakers possible. So Top Gun Maverick is at my number 8 on this list, and I just cannot wait to go and experience this in a cinema. So guys, coming in at number 7, we have A Quiet Place Part 2. Now this one is just a bit annoying because I believe that this film was meant to come out only a week after the lockdown in the UK actually commenced. So it's just a bit frustrating that, I didn't get to go see this film when it was intended to originally come out. But having said that, you can bet that I'm going to be there on opening night when it does eventually get released. I was a big fan of the first film. I thought that the idea and the concept around this story was really original, and it made for some really, edge of your seat scenes, some really intense moments. I thought John Krasinski did a great job directing for the first time, and I'm super excited to see how he, continues the story going into the sequel. So on top of that, I believe Cillian Murphy is a new addition to this cast. I'm excited to see who his character is and what he brings to this story. He's one of my favorite actors, of course, from Peaky Blinders. And yeah, if you haven't seen the first A Quiet Place, I definitely recommend checking it out. I think it's on Netflix actually at the moment. So if you're in the UK and you haven't seen A Quiet Place, definitely give this a watch in lockdown. It's a really great sci-fi horror, I think, in my opinion. And yeah, A Quiet Place Part 2 is at my number 7, and I'm super excited to see it. At number 6, guys, we have The French Dispatch, directed by Wes Anderson. Now, admittedly, I haven't seen too many of Wes Anderson's films. I've only seen The Grand Budapest Hotel and Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And I'm definitely going to do a bit of a catch-up on his movies. But having said that, this guy is really well known for bringing together great casts, okay? And this film, The French Dispatch, is definitely no different. It is actually impossible for me to list off all the incredible actors and actresses in this film, but I'm going to try give you some of them. So here we go. Timothy Chalamet, Saoirse Ronan, Elizabeth Moss, Christoph Waltz, Lea Seydoux, Edward Norton, Tilda Swinton, Adrian Brody, Willem Dafoe, Benicio del Toro, Bill Murray, Owen Wilson, Jeffrey Wright, Liv Schreiber, Frances McDormand. I'm bloody out of breath by saying all those names, but honestly, the cast itself is the biggest selling point for this film. It's incredible. It's probably the best cast of the year, I think it's fair to say. I'm super excited to see what is in store for the French Dispatch, and I can't wait to watch it in theaters. So guys, coming in at number 5, we have the second superhero film on this list, Wonder Woman 1984. I'm a big fan of the first Wonder Woman film. I think it's DC's best film since the Dark Knight trilogy. I don't think that the DC Extended Universe has come up with something as good as the first Wonder Woman film. Who knows, it could be this sequel, but I am super excited to see Patty Jenkins return as the director for this film. She and Gal Gadot, who plays obviously Diana Prince, and Chris Pine, their chemistry really shone through the first film. So I'm hopeful that it does the same in this sequel. In addition to this, there are new cast members, Kristen Wiig, who's going to play Cheetah, Pedro Pascal, who plays, I believe, who's going to be the main villain of this movie. So I'm super excited to see the culmination of this cast and, of course, the story progressing in the 80s as well. I'm also hopeful that we're going to get to see more of the Amazons of Themyscira. The whole first act of the previous film was one of my favorite in comic book films in recent years. I really loved seeing the whole upbringing of Diana Prince and where she comes from. It was a very, unique side to a superhero that we had never explored before on the big screen. So I'm hopeful that we get to see more scenes with the Amazons of Themyscira. From what I've seen in the trailers, it looks like there's going to be some pretty awesome action sequences. There is a scene where Diana Prince essentially rides a lightning bolt using her lasso of truth, which was really cool to see. And yeah, without waffling too much about this film, it is a superhero film and a sequel that I am really excited for, and I can't wait to see how they pull this one off as well. So I'm hopeful. I've got my fingers crossed that they continue their level of quality. And yeah, Wonder Woman 1984 is at my number 5. So at number 4, guys, we have Dune. Now, I don't actually know too much about this movie. There hasn't been any trailers, and I haven't read the science fiction novels that this movie is supposed to be based off. The only thing I have seen from this film is a couple of stills that were released a few months ago. But the reason that this film is so high on my list is due to the fact that this film is directed by Denis Villeneuve. Now, this guy is an exceptional filmmaker, one of my favorites and one of the best working in Hollywood in the past couple of years. He's come out with films like Enemy, Blade Runner 2049, Sicario, Prisoners, Arrival, some really, really outstanding films that I think will become classics in the future. And he's never missed a beat. Every single one of his films, I think, could potentially be considered as masterpieces, which they are. And honestly, there's no way that this film can go wrong. I don't know too much about it, and I'm not so hyped over the story because I don't know a lot about it, but just from the directing force that Denis Villeneuve brings, I know it's going to be a success, and I know it's going to be another great watch. On top of that, the cast for this is exceptional as well. It's another one of those incredible casts of the year. It's got Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Javier Bardem, Josh Brolin, Jason Momoa. Those are just a couple of some of the great actors present in this film, and I couldn't be more excited to see this film. Hollywood is going to give me another great Christmas present because I believe that this film is coming out during the December period. And yeah, I couldn't be more excited to watch this film. Denis Villeneuve, I haven't seen a film from him since Blade Runner 2049, which was 2-3 years ago. So I'm super pumped and I'm very excited to see what he has in store with this one. At number 3, it gives me great pleasure to tell you guys that this year we are finally getting a Black Widow solo film. It only took 10 years. In all honesty, guys, as one of the founding members of the Avengers team, Black Widow has always been one of my favorite characters inside the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm curious to dig deeper into Natasha's Russian background as well, her dynamics with the different family members she has. We have a great supporting cast with Florence Pugh, Rachel Weisz, and David Harbour. And on top of that, I'm really excited to see Taskmaster make his debut into the MCU. That's something I've been craving ever since we've got a Captain America film. You know, he's a Captain America villain and he's also a Spider-Man villain as well. I remember watching him in the animated Spider-Man series as a kid, and now he's finally making himself into a live action film. It's really just goosebumps for me. So I can't wait to see Taskmaster in action. From the trailer, he looks pretty lethal. Overall, I think this film should have been made years ago, but I'm grateful that we're getting it now. And it's going to be interesting to see the angle the MCU approaches this character in her solo film, given the events of Endgame. And yeah, I'm so excited for Black Widow. I have always been excited at the prospect of seeing a solo Black Widow film. And now that we finally got it, I couldn't be more thrilled. We finally made it down to the top 2. It was very, very difficult for me to actually, rank them the way I did. But I think I've made the right decision. So at number 2, we have the latest entry in the 007 series, No Time to Die. So No Time to Die is, I believe, the culmination of all the 007 films starring Daniel Craig as James Bond. It is going to be an emotional one because it is his last film in the role, of course. And he has been my favorite Bond of all of them. I haven't seen all the Bond films, but Daniel Craig has stood out to me as one of the driving elements of why I'm a fan of this series. Hans Zimmer has come on board to do the score for this film, and you guys will not understand how excited I am to hear a 007 score by Hans Zimmer. He's my favorite composer. On top of that, Billie Eilish's No Time to Die song. I wasn't so sure how I felt about it at first, but overhearing it the past couple of months, I love it. I think she really captured the essence of Bond. And yeah, there's not much more I can say about this movie. I'm just really, really excited to see how they close this chapter off in the 007 saga. And it is going to be an emotional one, but I'm sure, I hope that they pull it off spectacularly. I love Skyfall. I love Casino Royale. Let's hope it's as memorable as those two and not a stinker like, Quantum of Solace was. But yeah, No Time to Die is at number 2. And yeah. Okay, guys, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. My number 1 most anticipated movie post-quarantine is Tenet. You want to know why? One person. Christopher Nolan. In all seriousness, guys, if you know who Christopher Nolan is, you know that I don't need to explain myself here. He is one of, if not my favorite filmmaker of all time. The guy has done so many, countless classics now. Okay, some of the most extraordinary films to ever be put on the screen. Memento, The Prestige, The Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk. The list keeps getting bigger, and Tenet is the latest addition to this incredible collection of films that Nolan has crafted, created, directed, and made for film fans like myself and audiences all across the globe. Chris Nolan has this incredible ability to take mind-bending stories and ground them in reality, taking his characters and making them relatable. And I think that's one of the reasons his films are so successful and work so well, is because audience members, they can connect to the characters in these films, in these adventures, in these crazy plots. And Tenet seems no different here. Tenet looks like an absolute, mind, but I'm so excited to go and watch it when it comes out. I've also heard that Chris Nolan has been arguing with the film commissions to keep the release date of Tenet to when it was supposed to be released, which is I think June or July, and not push it back due to the corona pandemic, which I think is really, really admirable. And I think that he's, inspiring a lot of directors in the industry to do the same as well. So Chris Nolan's Tenet is, of course, at my number 1. It wasn't going to be any other film. There was no other contender for this number 1 spot. So Tenet takes it, number 1. I'm so excited, super pumped. I can't wait. Let's go. And that is a wrap, guys. Those are my top 10 films that I am most excited, most anticipated for going back to the cinemas when they eventually open and experiencing. Let me know some of your most anticipated movies down in the comments section below. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to discuss with you guys what you're looking forward to. Yeah, I will hopefully see you again soon for another video. My Instagram, of course, is listed down below if you want to go give that a follow. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you guys soon. Have a good one.